Paranormal UK Radio, created by Irene Allen and Mark Johnson. Twin Souls is hosted by myself, Philip, along with my twin brother Ronald Kinsella, in association with the Paranormal UK Radio Network. We are delighted to have with us Gary Parker, who is a real estate developer and lives in Phoenix, Arizona. Through his interest in Egyptology, Gary has discovered an alien message written in the Great Pyramid in a 2012 NASA photo. Gary is here tonight to talk to us through about his research and discoveries. Hello, Gary.
Hey, hi, guys. Thanks for having me on. This is great.
That's real great to have you with us, and we want to know more about yourself, Gary. So tell us firstly a little bit about yourself.
Well, guys, in the late 70s, I actually was born and raised in a small state back east called Wilmington. It's called Delaware, and it's actually in the city was Wilmington, Delaware. And in the late 70s, I moved to California. And in California, I got involved in real estate, and I started first I started selling real estate, and then I got into development, some properties and stuff like that,
right.
Homes and some apartment complexes. And then I was lucky enough to get into the movie business. I actually got together with another writer. Her name was Marjorie Rose, and we started a production company. And we were fortunate enough to sell some scripts in Hollywood. And we had one movie made called Thank Heaven, which you can get on Netflix. Okay. And and I'm still in that business. Yeah, I'm in the Writers Guild. I've been in the Writers Guild for 22 years. Yeah. And so we have a couple things in development with a couple production companies, and keep my fingers crossed. But then this happened, what I'm about to tell you guys, and things kind of have taken a turn towards this. Now I'm doing this full time.
Now, I do know, Gary, that you've been involved or very much interested with your research with the Great Pyramids of Cheops and with regards to Egypt. So right. What was it, first of all, that stirred your interest into this discovery that you have made?
Well, what I did, guys, is a little over 2 years ago, I wanted to come up with an idea to try to help world peace. Seriously, I thought, how could I help promote world peace by myself? Sure. And I came up with an idea where I was going to globally crowdfund a project for Earth to restore the Great Pyramid and Sphinx. Yeah. And what I mean by that is, whenever you look at the Great Pyramid and the Sphinx and the whole Giza Plateau, they look like they're falling apart because Egypt can't afford to do anything.
Absolutely.
Egypt's $284 billion in debt. They have rolling blackouts throughout Cairo. Mm. So I thought, well, what I'll do is I will get a couple billionaires to invest a few million to seed money, and then I would globally crowdfund a project to restore the Great Pyramid and Sphinx. Mm-hmm. So, and when I say restore them, guys, I don't mean take them down brick by brick or block by block. I mean make them look nice. Like maybe get some of that ancient stucco that's on the second smaller pyramid and analyze that, and then we make some stucco and make it look nice, and just and I think if the whole world pitched in a few bucks, I think everybody would be excited to see that happen. And so, and I was hoping while they were watching it, maybe we wouldn't kill each other. You know what I mean? So what I did, guys, is I needed some seed money. So I went into Hollywood and I asked a few of my producer friends if they knew any billionaires who would want to put in on this. And two of my producer friends gave me emails to Sir Richard Branson. You guys know who he is, right?
Yes, we know who he is. Yeah.
and to Elon Musk. So they gave me their emails and they said, Gary, whatever you do not tell them where you got these emails. Mm-hmm. So I said, yeah, no problem, guys. So I emailed both of them, and I figured I was never going to hear from them. And if I did, I would have probably heard back from an assistant, and probably like a month later. Well, what happens is, guys, the next morning, and actually on the email, I put a heading. It said, "World Peace, Restore the Great Pyramid and Sphinx."
Yeah.
And the next morning at 7:30, 7:45 in the morning, I get an email from Sir Richard Branson. He said, Gary, I don't know how you got my email, but I love this idea and I would love to be part of it.
Wow.
And it blew, guys, I was blown away. I said, oh my, because as you know, like I said, I've been in Hollywood and I was lucky enough to sell scripts. So I've gone in and also done pitches to the major studios, like pitched them stories and tried to sell them, and usually when you go in and you pitch a major studio, it takes weeks or months to hear back from them.
Yeah.
So when Sir Richard Branson emailed me back, I said, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And he said, so I emailed him right back. I said, thank you so much, Sir Richard, for getting back to me. I said, this idea is in its infancy. I said, but I am looking for between $5 and $15 million seed money to get this going. And that's why I emailed you. And so he emailed me right back. And naturally, I saved all the emails. And he said, Gary, here's my foundation. Keep me in the loop. Let me know when this is going down, because I will be part of it. Guys, I was blown away.
Well, I think anyone would, from Sir Richard Branson. I mean, he's quite an iconic figure around the world, and especially with the record industry. So you're very flattered to hear from him.
Yes, and also not only the records, but he also has Virgin Galactic.
Yeah.
He's building those planes to ride above the stratosphere.
Definitely.
So it's amazing. So, and also, guys, I also thought, who are the closest people to pharaohs on our planet? They're billionaires. So you got to figure these guys would love to have their name on the Great Pyramid. Do you know what I mean? Or to be associated.
Definitely, absolutely. Yes. I mean, if it's any of the royalty of the Egyptian clan.
There you go.
King Tut will be one of them.
Exactly. So what happens is guys, and I'm not exaggerating, 20 minutes after I sent Sir Richard my final email, 20 minutes later, I get an email not from Elon Musk, but from the president of his space program, which is called SpaceX. Her name is Gwyneth Shotwell. Wow. And she emails me and says, Gary, Elon doesn't know how you got his email, but we love this idea and we would love to be part of it. Wow. Guys, I'm telling you, I had to pick myself up off the floor.
I think I was going to done myself, definitely.
Well, it's amazing, but then as I'm thinking, this is probably the biggest idea I've ever had in my life, and I thought, why not? Why not? And it's all about promoting world peace. So all of a sudden, I emailed him. I emailed Gwyneth Shotwell back, and I said, thank you so much. The idea is in its infancy. I have Sir Richard Branson, who's interested in being part of it also, and she emailed me right back and said, Gary, if Sir Richard Branson is involved, we will definitely want to be part of this. And I said, great, give me 6 months. I'll get back to you guys. So she said, thank you. So guys, I was so excited. And as you know, whenever you do real estate deals, it takes a long time to get everything together. It takes years. It takes years. Building a couple houses in Los Angeles, it took me 4 years to get permits. Wow. So this, I figured, was going to take at least 5 to 10 years just to see the light of day. Yeah. So anyway, guys, what happens is I put the cart way before the horse. I go right to the NASA website and I say, you know what? I'm going to download a photo and I'm going to zoom in on that photo on the Giza Plateau, and I'm going to look at the Great Pyramid to see where we can put machinery and people and all that kind of stuff. Now, like I said, guys, I'm putting the cart way before the horse, but I was so excited. So I go to the NASA website, and if I can tell you and your listeners, I downloaded one photo, and it's an iconic shot. And the file number is ISS 032-E-009-123. That's ISS, which stands for International Space Station. Yes. ISS 032-E-009-123. So also for your listeners, you guys are going to have it downloaded onto your website so they can see it, and they can also go to Gary Parker Midnight in the Desert to see see the photo. So guys, I download the photo and I zoom in on the Great Pyramid. So as I'm zooming in, now you got to remember, most people who look at these photos, they look at them from a distance because the International Space Station takes the photo from 200 miles above Earth. Okay, so when you look at them, you don't think anything. You say, oh, there's the Giza Plateau. On the left is Cairo. There's Great Pyramids, and then you move on.
Definitely.
Guys, I think I'm the only person in the world that had ever zoomed in on the Great Pyramid. So, and remember this too, the photo was taken on July 26th, 2012. That's when it was downloaded onto the. I'm sorry. What did you say?
2012. You're absolutely correct. Yes.
Yes, July. It actually was taken on July 25th, but it was downloaded onto the internet on July 26th, 2012. So as I zoom in on it, I see as I get closer and closer, it looked like shadows beside the Great Pyramid. Now I say beside the Great Pyramid, like in the sand beside the Great Pyramid. And as I zoom in, I see that these shadows are turning into letters. They're turning into, but not English letters, but like some kind of language, like an ancient language. Mm-hmm. And as I zoom in closer, it keeps getting clearer and clearer. And I said, "Oh my God, that looks like a," and the letters are bigger, or as big or bigger than the pyramid itself. They're gigantic. So, like I said, and I thought, well, maybe they're buildings or something. But when I saw the letters, I got a piece of paper, I wrote them down, I took a picture with my phone, and I emailed them to some Judaic scholars, some Aramaic scholars, and Egyptologists in Egypt, and one Judaic scholar here in Arizona at the University of Arizona.
Absolutely, which anyone would do. That, you know, when you discover something of monumental value that stares you in the face, and of course, when you've discovered something that most people would miss, I think that's very important. So what happened next?
So what happens, guys, is because I say that's, and actually I showed friends and family the photo with them, and they go, yeah, that's writing. So all of a sudden, maybe 2 days later, I get an email from a very famous Egyptologist. Her name is Dr. Salima Ikram, and she's always on Ancient Aliens and those TV shows. And she is the head Egyptologist at the American University at Cairo. Wow. She emails me back, and she says, Gary, this is some kind of writing. I know what it is, but where did you find it? And I emailed her back. I said, I found it in a NASA photo from 2012 beside the Great Pyramid. She said, well, would you circle that in red and send me the photo? So I sent it to her. And maybe 30 minutes later, she said, Gary, you Photoshopped this. This is Photoshopped. I said, no. I said, go to the NASA website and look at it yourself at that date and time. You know, Google it, and you'll see I didn't do anything. Maybe about 2 hours later, she said, you're telling the truth. She said, that is there. She said, Gary, this says something. This is a message. She said, but I don't know what it says. She said, can you give me a few months? I want to show it to my colleagues, and we'll get back to you. I said, fantastic. I said, thank you so much. So, guys, I was super excited, right?
Oh, anyone would be. I mean, that's amazing.
It is amazing.
Especially
it is amazing.
From NASA, because NASA are quite renowned for never a straight answer, but you've obviously seen something like many other researchers with UFO research.
Right, exactly. So what happens is then I get a couple emails from a Judaic scholar and Aramaic scholar from the Middle East. Wow. And they both said, the one word here says I, the other one says God or Lord or Creator, but we can't figure out all of them. It looks bizarre. So I said, and then I said, well, thank you. And they said, where did you find this? And would you send us the photo? Well, as soon as I sent them the photo, they said, this is a hoax. You Photoshopped this. We don't have anything to do with you or this. I emailed them back and I said, go to the NASA website. They said, we don't have time to fool around. We're not going to be involved in this. I said, well, okay, because I can't beat the guys up. They're in the Middle East. So all of a sudden, I had found some other writing, but I knew that this writing, not too far from the big writing beside the Great Pyramid, I knew it was ancient Hebrew, a thing called Proto-Hebrew, which is older than regular Hebrew. And I wrote it down, and I took a picture of it, and I sent it to the guy here at the University of Arizona. And his name is actually Dr. Edward Wright, and he's a famous Judaic scholar, and he's worked on the Dead Sea Scrolls and all that. Well, he saw the second one, because he had emailed me back before on the first set of letters, and he said, Gary, all I can make out is an I. Like I, not one of your eyes, but I am, that kind of thing. So I said, but when I sent him the second writing, he said, oh, I know what this is. This says God and the Lord of the underworld. And he said, Gary, listen, he said, I want to meet you. Come down to my office. So the next we set up a meeting. The next week I went down because he wanted to see where I found it. So I go into his office.
Just to very quickly interject, Gary, bless you. Lord of the Underworld.
Yes, God and Lord of the Underworld.
Right, okay, right. So it'll be interesting to see where that leads us.
Well, yeah, it's going to be amazing. Watch. So what happens is I go down, I show Dr. Wright everything. And now for you and your listeners, the way you have to see this, the best way to have the letters pop out at you, almost like a 3D picture, is to have the NASA photo downloaded onto a laptop computer.
Yes.
Be in a dark room, pitch black is best. Mm-hmm. And what you have to do is you have to tilt your screen, your computer screen, at a 45-degree angle. Mm-hmm. And then what you do is you lift under your computer and tilt the screen back. And when I say back, I mean towards the desktop. So it's lifting up the keyboard, and as it tilts back, the letters themselves will pop out like a 3D picture.
Right.
Okay. So that's the best way to see them. Now,
okay, guys,
when I'm down at the University of Arizona, Professor or Dr. Wright says he not only translates that for me and he sees where it is, but he translates a few other words that I had found. And he goes, Gary, listen, he says, I see this, but I'm not going to believe it. I'm just not going to believe it. And I said, well, why not? I said, isn't it genius that whoever put that in here, put it in a NASA photo? I said, because it's hard to refute NASA. I said, putting it on anything else on the internet, nobody would believe it. But putting it in a NASA photo, I said, that's brilliant. I said, so if it's God or aliens, they're sending us some kind of message.
Yes.
So they just don't show up and freak us all out.
Definitely.
And he said, Gary, this is just, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Gary, that, most of the things that are discovered are through people's, continual investigation and looking for things that other people can't see. And it's not because you want to see it. If you've had, the total authenticity of such researchers and, very esteemed researchers, that's telling the listeners something here. So go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interject, but I just think this is really incredible. Oh,
it's amazing. And like I said, it's going to get even crazier, guys.
Okay.
So what happens is he says, Gary, I can't deal with this. This is just too unbelievable. And I didn't tell you guys this, but when you tilt the photo, it actually has 3 and sometimes 4 levels to it. Now, which is unbelievable. And when Dr. Wright saw it, he said, Gary, I've never seen anything like this. I said, well, no. Mm-hmm. I said, because he said, well, why did you get to see it? I said, because I think I'm the only person who came up with an idea for world peace to restore the Great Pyramid and the Sphinx. Mm. So maybe that's my connection. You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely.
So what I did was he pretty much kicked me out of the office, and he said, Gary, I'm not going to look at it again. I'm not interested. I said, okay, but I thanked him for doing the translations. Mm. So what I did, guys, is I got a meeting with 2 professors up at Arizona State University who actually build software and can tell me how this thing has 3 levels to it. So a couple weeks later, I go up to Arizona State University up in Tempe, Arizona, and I meet with a Dr. Whitehouse or a Professor Whitehouse and a Professor Gupta. They see it. Professor Whitehouse looks at it and he says, Gary, and I showed him the letters. I showed him a lot of everything, a lot of things, and he said, Gary, and when I say we, the world does not have this technology. There's no way we could build 4 levels that you're showing us here.
Right.
How this happened is impossible. And the other thing Dr. Gupta said to me, or Professor Gupta said, he said, Gary, here's another thing. He had shrunk the picture way down and he looked at it through a magnifying glass. And he said, Gary, here's another thing. There's a binary code on here that are all zeros and no ones.
Right.
Now, guys, I don't know anything about computers. And I said, well, what does that mean? He said, well, Gary, on Earth, 1 and 0 mean open and closed.
That's correct.
And he said, and there's none in this picture. There's no ones. They're all zeros. He goes, that's impossible. And I said, well, guys, will you help me? And they said, no way. We don't have anything to do with this.
No, because they're obviously, as academics,
that's it.
Most of the time they don't want to put their jobs on the line, so to speak.
Right. So guys, so I ran into those two roadblocks, but as you can tell, I'm an extremely positive guy, and I don't really let too much get me down. So I said, this is a message I'm going to show people, and I'm going to do whatever it takes for everybody to see it. But guys, on the third level of this photo, when you tilt it, you will see that it's all Hebrew. It's all Hebrew. Some ancient Hebrew, some modern day Hebrew.
Yes.
So because of that, I just said, well, you know what? I should go meet with some rabbis, some of these older rabbis who know everything about the Torah and know, they probably don't know as much as a Judaic scholar, but they know a lot about Hebrew. Yeah. So what I do is I go up to Phoenix and I have a meeting with two rabbis. And, you know, these guys, and they're Orthodox. They're the guys with the wear the black outfits, you know, that whole deal, right? Yeah. So, and they're really, really nice. So I show up, and also, guys, not only have I found all this, but I started finding thousands of people and thousands of buildings in this photo. Okay, so now I'll explain that in a second. So what happens is I'm sitting there with the two rabbis. We're in a dark room, and we have it tilted. They see God and Lord of the Underworld. They see the other writing, which actually translated later on. It was translated, the big writing beside the Great Pyramid. It actually says, "I am who I am, creator of all things." That's the translation. Oh, wow. So, yeah, it's insane, right? So what happens is, guys, get ready for this. So and here's another thing too, guys. I'm not a religious person. I haven't been to a church in 40 years. Okay. Or maybe even longer, 45 years. So, and also, I have never, up until this point, had a paranormal experience. I never saw a UFO or an alien or Bigfoot or anything, but I believe in all those things. I believe in ghosts. I believe. Well,
I mean, judging by your interest and your conviction to get out to these scholars, obviously telling the listeners that there's something that's pulling you towards, you know, this mystery that you're trying to unravel. It's amazing.
Right. Okay. You're absolutely right. And it's Philip, right? This is Philip.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is interesting. So you set this to these scholars, and what happened next?
Well, then I went to the rabbis. Okay. So I'm with the two rabbis, and we're sitting in the office, and it's completely dark, and I'm showing them all the letters and everything, and they're agreeing with the scholar of what it says. Yeah. But all of a sudden I say, look up here. I said, rabbis, I said, look up here to your left. I said, do you see that big head? There's like a big human head. It looks like a human face. And they said, yeah. And I said, but watch what happens when I tilt the screen. As I tilt it, on this guy's head, on the left-hand side, on his left-hand side, which would be our right-hand side, he has the face of a lion. On his right side, he has the face of a raven, and up above, he has kind of like a bull's head. And I saw some Hebrew writing below his neckline, and I said, "What does that say?" And they said, the one older rabbi says, "Gary, that says Uriel," and I said, "What does that mean? What's a Uriel?" And they said, "Gary, that's a cherubim or an angel that protects the gate, the east gate of the Garden of Eden." And I go, "Really?" And they go, because guys, I know, I've seen movies, I know a little bit about the Bible, but I don't know that much. And they said, they said, here, tilt it. And they tilt it back. They say, yes, can you see his face now? And I said, yeah. And I had never noticed that on the left side was a lion, and on the right side was like a raven or an eagle. And they were freaking out. They said, "Gary, look at this." And we zoomed in a little bit more. And he said, now, when you look at the photo, the NASA photo, on the left is east, and on the right is west. Okay, so they said, "Gary, if you notice, that big-headed guy with the four faces is at the east side." Now they said, "Move to the right." As we move to the right, there you could see, and we tilt the laptop back. You could see that, and they showed me this. They said, "Look there. There's two elephants drinking from the water." I said, "Oh my God!" I said, "I never noticed that before." And they said, "Look at this. There's a tree with a woman's left profile of her face as a trunk." I said, "Guys, what is it?" And they said, "And look above the elephants. There's a flame. There's like a flame or a thing that's on fire." Yeah. I said, "Well, what's that?" They said, "Gary, that's the flaming sword. You never heard of that?" I said, "No." They said, "That tree is the tree of life." And I said to him, I said, and one of the rabbis said she in ancient times was called Asherah. Yeah. And I said, I said, you're freaking me out here, rabbis. And they said, Gary, look to your far right, all the way to the right, all the way to the west. There's a huge serpent with one bright red eye. After they saw that, they said, Gary, you have to leave. And I said, well, guys, I said, aren't you excited about this? They said, no. They said, no. They said, this is too unbelievable. And I said, well, I said, did you just show me the Garden of Eden? And they said, yes, that's what we just showed you. They said, Gary, but this is not in the Torah. And we cannot be part of this. And I said, but guys, what if, I said, and I know a little bit about Judaism. And I said to them, I said, guys, isn't it true that in your Torah it says God, at the end of days, God is going to come back and make our world into the next Garden of Eden? And they said, yes. I said, well, what if you got it wrong, which I should have never said. I said, what if you guys got it wrong and he was going to bring the Garden of Eden so you could see it first, and then so we don't all freak out? And they go, no. They turned.
What's interesting, sorry, Gary, is that when we talk about these situations of the past and in ancient Hebrew or going further back to ancient Mesopotamia, what's written in records is people can freely accept the Zykl's wheel and the face, the face of the beings that
the cherubim, the four faces.
Exactly. So, Carrie, I'm sorry to interrupt, but this is very interesting.
No, Philip, please interrupt anytime, because as you can tell, I go on and on.
They believe in something that's written in scriptures and can't be proved, but once it's proven, they can't believe it. It's interesting.
That's it. That's exactly what it is. I told them, I said, guys, this is a message. You just showed me the Garden of Eden. I said, this is a message. And they said, well, Gary, we have two problems. Number one, you're not Jewish. And I said, well, what does that matter?
What does it make?
Yeah, I said it's the messenger. It's the message, not the messenger. And they said also, Gary, we believe that these kind of miracles only happen in Israel. And I said, they have computers in Israel, don't they? I said, rabbis, I said, that's ridiculous. They said, yeah, but we believe what we believe and we're not going to change. I said, well, what's going to happen when it shows up? Are you not going to believe it then? You know what I mean?
Yes.
But they were upset that I had actually originally said maybe the Torah, they made a mistake. And naturally, just like every other person that has their face in the Bible, they believe that every word is the word of God, And naturally, I said, Rabbi, some guys wrote that. I said, come on, it wasn't God. Yeah. So anyway. And I didn't mean to be so blunt, but come on. They show me the Garden of Eden and all of a sudden they're not going to believe it?
Absolutely, Ronnie. Go ahead, Ronnie.
I have to say that's quite the message itself, Gary, is ingenious in the fact that it's almost like a holographic projection in three stages, as you said. So whoever or how they've done this is a very ingenious way of not only projecting words, but pictures. And also the lion you mentioned, well, we believe, or it is said, that the lion, the Sphinx, was actually a full-scale lion. I myself do personally believe he was a lion until one of the pharaohs carved his face away. But I think what you're describing is an incredible advanced language form. Incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing. But guys, I can actually tell you how it got in the photo. But I was going to build to that. But let me ask you something. How long do we have? Do we only have an hour?
We've got an hour, so you've got about 25 minutes, Gary.
Okay, because
I'm enthralled by this, please.
Well, sure. Yeah, it's amazing. So what happens, guys, is after when you look at the NASA photo, NASA photo flat on, and you make it kind of small on your screen, and I have it in the photos I sent to you guys. I emailed you guys.
Yes.
I actually have it outlined in red. Okay, as you look at the photo, on the right side is the Giza Plateau, but it's just not the Giza Plateau. What it is, it's the whole right side of the photo. The whole Giza Plateau is the left profile of a huge alien's face
and his neck
and his chin. What's that?
It wouldn't surprise me at all, Gary.
Well, it's not. And as a matter of fact, on the left side of the photo, I actually have it outlined in red, is a big cross. It's a cross. But and what it is, it's the Nile River and it's Ring Road that runs east to west onto the Giza Plateau. And what it does is that is actually the constellation of Cygnus, which is called the Northern Cross or the Swan.
Wow.
And the way you can see, what I did was, after I saw the photo, I tilted all the way back. And when I was looking on the left-hand side at Cairo, and what it did was all the lights went away except for about 12 or 13 lights. And I jotted those down on a piece of paper, and I sent them to some astronomers. They emailed me back, and they said, you sent me the constellation of Cygnus. Well, that's what that is. I know. It's amazing. And it's so big. It's amazing. And believe me, guys, if you get your laptop, you'll be able to see when you tilt it back, the cross. And it's, like I said, it's an 8-lane freeway above Ring Road. It crosses the Nile River. And that cross is the constellation of Cygnus.
So what I want to ask you, Gary, is this.
Go ahead.
So are you stating then to the listeners, your listeners, are you stating that there was some form of extraterrestrial intervention that it was somehow responsible either for our genesis or through the creation of our intellect?
All the above.
Yes.
In the NASA photo, and you guys will see the ones that I sent you, I actually drew a huge alien.
Yes.
That alien is in the photo in 3 different places. And it would be so much easier if I was beside you. I could show you guys exactly how to see it, and it would blow you away. Mm-hmm. But wait, here, guys, let me. I know we're going to be running out of time here. What happens after all this happened, and I saw the aliens and everything? I actually contacted NASA. And there's a place up here in Northern California, it's not too far from Phoenix, in Northern California. It's called the Ames Research Center. And they're the closest ones to Phoenix. So I emailed them, and there's the guy who was the director of the Ames Research Center, and they're the company, they're the branch of NASA that handled the robots up on Mars. Well, the guy who was the director at that time was a guy by the name of Dr. Peter Warden. And I emailed him, and I said, Dr. Warden, I found an alien message in a NASA photo of the Giza Plateau.
Yeah.
So, guys, I wrote a little paragraph on myself and what it's all about.
Yeah.
And I figured he would never contact me. The next day, he emailed me, said, "Send me the photo. I want to see it." Now, this is the director. So of the Ames Research Center. I sent it to him, and I gave him instructions on how to see it. He emailed me back maybe about an hour later, and he said, "Gary, I can't see it." And I emailed him back, and I said, "Get in a dark room, use your laptop computer, and call me, and I'll show you exactly how to see everything." So he did. About 20 minutes later, he calls me. He goes, "I'm in a room." He sees everything, and there was like long pauses. He would say, "I see it." I said, "Okay, now I want you to go a little further north, look over to the right, tilt your screen. Do you see it?" He goes, "I see it." After the third, "I see it," he said, "Gary, can you give me a couple weeks? I want to show this to my superiors." And I said, "Absolutely." I said, "I'm so glad you saw it." He goes, "I'll get back to you." Guys, 3 weeks later, I see on the internet that Dr. Peter Warden retired from NASA, and he got together with Stephen Hawking, the great physicist, and a Russian billionaire who invested $100 million with he and Stephen Hawking, and they created a company to find ETs.
Oh my God.
I know, it's ridiculous,
so
right?
It's sometimes we have to think seriously about, certain researchers and scholars who, in my mind and my brother's mind, are brilliant. But occasionally there are some gems where someone will come up and they will see something that no one else can see, and that, to my mind, is something really quite amazing. I know that my twin brother and I had a letter from Professor Stephen Hawkins a long time ago, obviously from his secretary, about one of our children's books, but he's a very interesting man. So go ahead and tell us, the listeners as well, what happened after that. So they set up this company.
So guys, they set up a company, and he would all of his contact information, his phone and his email, they were canceled. So I could never get in touch with him again. But guys, what I did was, here's the kind of real fun thing, though. What happens is I was a little down after that happened, because I said, "Oh my God, I keep hitting all these roadblocks." But what happened, guys, is, as I told you, I had never had a paranormal experience before. But what happens is that night when that happened, Actually, the next morning, I was in a deep sleep, and I hear a man's voice to me, a man's voice in my head. And guys, I sleep like a rock, 7 to 8 hours. I don't even move. I lay in the same place the whole time, and my whole life I've always slept really great. So guys, but I hear this voice, and it says, Gary, go down to the river, stand in the water, face east, and say these words 3 times in Hebrew. And it was, Father, 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 holy, holy, holy. Where did you come from? Where did you really come from? Well, guys, I woke up and I said, oh my God, but I figured it all had to do with world peace, all the stuff I found, and the Great Pyramid and the Sphinx, and say these words in Hebrew. Right. So I said, so I don't know Hebrew, so I called one of the rabbis I had met, and he emailed it to me phonetically. So I practiced it for a couple hours, and I jumped in the truck, and maybe 5 miles from me, there's a river called the Gila River down here in a small town called Florence, Arizona. Mm-hmm. And what happens is in this one area, naturally it's in the middle of the desert, so it's not a running river, but it has this one area where it's like a small lake. So guys, I take off my and the lake is about 500 yards off of the main road. Okay. Sure. So I park my truck, I walk down, I stand in the water, and only up to my ankles, and I put my hands up and I face east and I yell out in Hebrew, Father, 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 holy, 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 where did you come from? Where did you really come from? And I say it really loud, and nothing happens. Okay, so I said, well, okay.
Straight away.
So I said, well, okay, well, nothing happened, but I did it for maybe 4 or 5 times. I yelled it out really loud. Guys, the next morning, and like I said, I sleep straight through the night. All of a sudden, I wake up, I jump up out of bed, I'm covered in sweat. I mean, just covered in sweat. And there's air conditioning. It's summertime, but there's air conditioning. And I said, what's wrong with me? I go, oh my God. And all of a sudden, as I look up, and then I think, well, maybe it was something that I did at the river. All of a sudden, as soon as I thought that, I look across my room, and on the desk is my laptop. It's open, but it's off. All of a sudden, it pops onto the NASA photo. Guys, I'm telling you, it popped on. And all of a sudden, I could see, even from a distance, I could see more writing in everything that was in that photo, like everything. Wow. And I said, oh my God. I said, they heard me, or whoever it is, they heard me. Now, guys, even though at just a few seconds ago I told you that I had never had a paranormal experience, which I never have. But here's what happened. In my family, my mother, 10 minutes before I was born, she had passed out on the table. And she has told me, she's 85 years old now. She has told me the story every birthday since I was 4 years old. And she tells it to me every year. She said, Gary, when I passed out in the delivery room, she says, I saw myself sitting in a dark room, and it was completely dark. And a man's voice came to me like from a tunnel. And she said it was terrifying. He said 3 times, where did you come from? Where did you really come from?
Good
Where did
Lord.
you come from? Well, yes. So what happens is, as soon as I heard that in my dream, guys, when I said, oh my God, that's my connection. So and every year she has said to me, Gary, don't forget, where did you come from? Where did you really come from? Means something, but I don't know what it means. Then when I showed her this stuff, she almost died. I mean, she said, Gary, this is it. So guys, that was my connection. Wow. So I said, oh my God, I'm the messenger boy. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Gary, would you say that these extraterrestrials, is it possible that they came from the Cygnus constellation? Is that the one you were talking about?
Yes, they actually came from a planet called Sadr, Sadr. Sadr, in constellation of Cygnus, the Cygnus constellation. Now, guys, like I said, I know we're running out of time, but what happens is after this all happened, I realized that from that having to say, where did you come from? Where did you really come from?
Mother's experience, yeah.
Exactly. That was my whole connection. So I said, oh my God, I got to do this full time. This is happening. So guys, what happens is almost a year later, it was July 26, 2016. Now, if you remember, July 26, 2012 is when the photo, the NASA photo, was downloaded onto the internet.
Yes.
Now well, on December 21st, 2012 was when the Mayan calendar ended. So it was only 5 months difference, okay?
Yes.
Okay, so on July 26th, the same date as on 2016, I get another dream, and the voice says to me, Gary, go to the river. So I said, I'll be there, no problem. So I go to the river. Because guys, first of all, I've seen everything in the photo. I've seen the Garden of Eden. I've seen everything that's in the photo. I know it's all ancient Hebrew. I know that this is some kind of a message. So guys, what happens is get to the, and this is, I'm going to cut this explanation really short because there's a lot more to tell you. I go to the river. I stand in the water. You got to remember, there's nobody out there. It's in the middle of the desert. And I say the words in Hebrew, and I say, what can I do for you? Guys, all of a sudden, the alien who I showed you, that I had drawn in the photos, he appears about 20 feet off of the water, and he's huge. He's like 30 feet tall, but he doesn't look real. He looks like a holographic image. It looks like I could put my hand through him, but he's too far out in the water. Okay. And the other thing too is he's huge though, guys. He's like 30 feet tall. He's gigantic, and he's got that huge head. But in the middle of his face is like 50 to 60 human faces from biblical times, and they're all talking at the same time in like Hebrew or Aramaic, however that sounds. But I can't understand them. But I can see, but I can hear his voice. And this guy, this alien, this huge alien, and remember too, they asked whenever I said the chant, I had to say Father, 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 which is Abba, 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 Kadosh, 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 Father, 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 Holy, Holy, Holy. So when I saw him, guys, I wasn't even afraid because I had seen him in the photo for the past year and 3 months or 4 months. So I knew exactly who it was. So, but what was wild was he was wearing this huge red like robe, and there was a Hebrew writing that constantly changed in black, written all over, and it kept changing, constantly changing. And he was wearing this breastplate. It was huge with like 12 different colors in this breastplate, and guys, I'm telling you, I wasn't afraid at all because I was expecting something to happen. Yeah. So anyway, so he tells me. Now, like I said, telepathically, he's talking inside my head, and I'm so excited that I'm really not paying attention because I'm hoping somebody will come by so I can say, "Can you see that?" Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because I can relate to that. Me and my twin can relate to that most definitely.
So what happens is he tells me, and like I said, guys, I'm cutting this way short because of our time. But what happens is he tells me that on July 26th, 2022, he and they, all the people that I see in the NASA photo, is they're going to return to Jerusalem's Temple Mount, and that they are returning in the third temple. Now, so you guys are familiar with this first temple and the second temple in Jerusalem. Yes. Well, he's returning in the third temple, and they're returning, and they're going to give everything to Israel and the Jewish people first, and be there. And everything else is going to trickle down to the rest of the world. Wow.
I think, we have to be very open. A lot of people have to be open because a lot of things now are coming into the fore. What was once ridiculed by most of the general public and through the media machine is now proving through lots of people, researchers, authors, people who are digging into all this type of, paranormal stuff. They're beginning to realize that, our condensed thinking, which has been systematically programmed, is now being, opened up. So where do you believe, Gary, where's this led you now? Where has this led you to this present moment in this time?
Well, guys, here, before I answer that, if I could just say this, I asked him what I should call him, and he said, "Call me Abba," which is Father. And I said, "How did you get those images in 4 levels on the net?" And you got to remember, these things are millions and millions of years more advanced than we are. But I said to him, "How did you get those images and all the writing onto the photo?" He told me, he said, "Gary," he said, "there are thousands and thousands of great pyramids on thousands of planets that we manage throughout all the galaxies." And he said, "We've been doing this for thousands, tens of thousands, millions of years." And he said, "And all all the other planets are in different stages of evolution. And he said, and it's your time now for us to come back to show you exactly who we are, what we do, and it's, guys, it's all about making our souls more powerful. Because when you know the truth, it increases your soul power, and these things, these beings use our souls like as fuel to travel by light speed throughout the galaxies. These beings are the ones who created us. They actually, and when I say created us, they actually are the ones who put human souls into apes. And it's all in the NASA photo. You can see it. You can see the whole evolution, and you can see apes lying on medical beds, and you see Abba, this huge alien, having souls come from his left hand into their mouths. Yeah. It's unbelievable, guys. Like I said, I wish I was there. I could show it to you. But it's all in the NASA photo. But guys, also, there's also a thing that's it's called a red nova, and it's a thing that's going to appear on Earth in July of 2022, and it was found that it's actually, if you or your listeners want to look this up, Google KIC. So that's K as in Kim, I as in ice cream, and C as in Ken. KIC 983-2227. That's KIC 983-2227. Right. And what it is in the Cygnus constellation, there is going to be a supernova. Two stars are going to run into each other, and that's 1,800 light years from us. Cool. And what will happen is it will appear in our sky. Everybody on Earth will see it. It will be red. It will make the sky red. That is going to announce these beings' return to the Temple Mount.
Well, Gary, I have to state to you categorically, firstly, well done. And with regards to the soul, that is a large part of my research for many, many years. And I've always contested the fact that we were not brought on by, just natural processing of evolutionary status, that we were created by something far more intelligent. And I always have believed that the, ape was molded with alien DNA to create
both. Yeah, but Philip, when you say that, yes, in the photo you can see that not only are they putting souls into the ape, but they're also putting DNA into the apes.
Yes, definitely. And
yes, and it's
And I think a lot of the people today in our world, Gary, is so in confusion because the system systematically controls and condenses our human thoughts. And I want to ask you a question. I think our listeners might be very interested. Are you wanting to write a book on this? Are you wanting to further your exploration into this genus, as we would call it, of discovery?
Well, here's the thing. Every time I see anybody who talks about this kind of stuff, they're always pushing their books and their DVDs and their CDs. And you know what? I'm going to be the only guy who doesn't. Oh. This is all free. This is all free.
Oh, absolutely. But sometimes, Gary, sometimes it would push you because sometimes, what you have to say, I think, is very interesting. And sometimes some researchers and authors, although pushing books, they're frustrated. And most authors don't make much money from their books, contrary to popular belief. But they have a passion to drive them towards this truth.
Right.
So put your name on the on a book and get it out there for people to see for themselves.
Well, believe it or not, guys, since your show, in the past 2 months, I've done 20 shows.
Wow.
And I'm trying to get more and more and now I also have people coming from all parts of America who have heard the shows, and I've told them, I said, come to Florence, Florence, Arizona. There's a fire department here that actually has a huge a public room. I'll show you how to find everything on the laptop in the NASA photo, and then I'll take you down to the river. So in the past 2 months, I've had 30 people come, and on February 19th, I'm having 40 people in a bus come down from California, from Petaluma, California, because they have seen some of it, but they want to see all of it. So guys, I'm trying to do this on a shoestring.
Oh,
you're right.
Sure.
I could always, and I don't know if Go ahead.
Sure, Gary. The thing is, though, I can attest to you now that most researchers and authors and people who have discovered such incredible things normally are attacked by the media. But let me tell you, the truth of the matter is that us as authors and researchers are more times than not penniless, and we're more than willing to put our neck on the line and have our heads taken off. But you know, people have to admire, you know, souls like yourself who are doing this, and it's a bit of a shame because I was in Arizona a couple of years ago at one of the UFO conference there.
Cool.
I met back up with Nick Pope and many other wonderful people as well.
Nice.
So it's a shame that I wasn't around the time you were there, but certainly. So where is this leading you now, Gary? Where is this pushing you now?
Well, all I'm doing now is like I said, doing the shows, and I also are meeting with the people. So, and I have been doing that nonstop. It's been like a full-time job. Also, guys, even though I look at this NASA photo for the last 2 years, maybe 3 to 4 hours a night, it's infinite. There's so many things in it, I can't make them all out. So I'm still trying to get together with scholars and people like that, so they'll when they see it. But I have had no luck with the academic world. I mean, they're just the worst. They're just afraid of it. So what I'm doing is I've actually contacted the governments of Israel and of Egypt and of the United States. I've actually met with the FBI, and I've met with yes, they saw it, they freaked out. And they said, Gary, we don't know what to do with this. And I said, well, guys, it's going to show up and it's going to be terrifying for the world. And I think my job is to soften that terror by showing everybody before it gets here. I am been doing this full time and trying to get the word out. But I also, like I said, I met with the FBI, but I've also contacted the CIA, Homeland Security, the NSA, because what will happen is this will terrify them. These beings returning to the temple is going to terrify people. And my job is to soften that terror by showing everyone. So it's kind of on me. If anybody jumps off a building, I hope I'm not held responsible.
Gary, do you think this experience that you've had with regards to your discovery, do you think it's positive or do you think it's negative? We have a lot of difference of opinions with regards to the subject. And as with people on the earth, we have the good and the bad. In your overall opinion, do you believe that this is benign? Because from what I can feel from your passion and drive with regards to it, that it is wonderful. Do you think it's good?
Yes, I think it's good, but it's also scary, and because it's change, and it's global change, because and that will terrify a lot of people, because we're kind of used to how things go here. Mm-hmm. We find new things, but when this thing shows up, it's going to be good. It's going to be positive. It's going to be our next step of evolution, technologically and spiritually. It will be. Absolutely. But when you look at the photo and you see when these apes are actually turning from or transforming, evolving from apes into humans, they look like they're in severe pain. Like they are screaming. It's terrifying. So I'm hoping if they come here and they're going to maybe give us a little more alien DNA or something like that, if we change physically, it may be painful. So now will it be all lollipops and rainbows? No, I don't think so. I think it's going to be great, but it's going to be really scary.
Well, I've got to commend you, Gary, first of all. I've just had a message from Ronnie saying we've got to get you on again
I hope so.
For another show, because we're running out of time. But can you tell
I would love to I can actually show you, Philip, how the Great Pyramid put all those photos, because it's a machine. Alba told me when he was out at the river, it's a machine. And it's on a timer, and that's why all these new things are being found out about it. And I can actually show you how it did it, and I can tell your listeners how they can see it being done. That it was done by vibration. And
you're on the same mark that I am. Totally.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Well, we will have you certainly on, Gary, in the next session. That'll be wonderful. We can contact you you again, and we would love our listeners to hear more of your incredible work and your experiences. That would be wonderful.
I would love it. I would love it.
Gary, tell us how the public can get in contact with you before we close the show.
Sure.
How can they contact you?
Here's the best way. Guys, I have a second email, and it's this one. It's it's the one you guys have. It's g.parker36gary@aol.com. And guys, feel free to put that email address onto your website with the photos if you want to.
We will do. That'd be great.
And they can also Google to see the photos, all my photos and drawings and everything. They can Google Gary Parker Midnight in the Desert. That's Gary Parker Midnight in the Desert.
Wonderful. Okay, so you've been listening to Twin Souls in association with the Paranormal UK Radio Network. We'd like to thank Gary very much for coming on board. Gary, it's been great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you very much. Yeah.